This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things video games. My name is George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing a classic WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2010.
Woo. And as always, please make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and a review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen. And make sure to follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. John, last episode we played Fire Pro Wrestling X 6-Men Scramble. How are you feeling about that game?
It was, it was a Fire Pro game. I think after I play a Fire Pro game, I want to play more Fire Pro games.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So I kick on World and I play a few, and then I could put it away for like a little bit, and then I could go back and play more Fire Pro Wrestling. But that's just the way it's always going to be. And you say, oh, you recently came around, but listen, almost 6 years into this podcast.
Yeah.
We could just say, I'm a Fire Pro Wrestling fan, and I'm going to play them. I'm going to enjoy them.
I think it's so ingrained into my head that we were saying recently for so long that like it's just like, yeah, you recently became a fan, when I'm well aware that it's been years, but for the longest time we just said, yeah, you recently became a fan. So and I feel like we haven't said that in a while, because it was just you've just been playing them and you've been enjoying them for the last couple of years, that when we actually have to remind ourselves that you weren't always, that's where it comes into the just became. But yeah, I feel the same way every time we play a Fire Pro game. I always am just like, man, kind of want to go and play a couple more. So then I also did the same thing, load up World, play a couple matches, and then put it down for a couple weeks, couple months, and pick it back up, play a couple matches. And that's just kind of been my relationship with Fire Pro Wrestling World. And I know that you've said similar things in the past, not just here today, but man, this is a big time for wrestling. It's we're still doing our normal weekly podcast, but of course there's so much stuff happening with WWE 2K25. And I feel like there have been more locker codes for my faction than there have been. Maybe I just forgot how many they did for the release of 24, but I feel like there are so many within the first couple of weeks, like way more than I remember for 24. But how about you?
It still confuses me.
My faction
still confuses me. So I just don't do it anymore. Like I told you last week, it's like a mobile game on the console or on my PC, and I just don't feel like doing that. Like I'm sitting there ripping Pokemon cards all day. Like I don't need.
Yeah, but then you get to play through the matches with your deck.
I don't want to do that at all. Like I want to do matches I want to do.
Yeah, I like it because for that very reason, is that it may otherwise make me pick versions of characters or characters in general that I may otherwise not have thought to pick. And some of them,
I get it.
I will say, found some cool movesets that I was like, oh, I didn't know that this person's moveset was this. That's actually kind of neat. Like,
all right, that's fair, because I said last week I'm playing through the showcase, and everyone I've played as so far, almost everyone. I mean, there's Nia Jax, but every single
there's also a lot of
moveset
matches too
is sick. Like everyone has a really good moveset.
Yeah,
like people you don't expect. Like the head shrinkers were awesome to play as. Like I'm probably gonna pick them if I'm ever in a tag team match now.
Like I think that may be the number one. I mean, if you're not already a fan of my faction, a reason to go in and to play and to go through that experience is to just see how other characters play that you may otherwise might not pick. Even if you just do the World Tour aspect, I think that will be something that you could find enjoyable, and you don't really have to go any further than that. That'll give you a good understanding of that. You play through, it's not quick. I mean, some matches can be very quick if you want to just like breeze right through them, but I think it'll be worth your time.
I think so. I think it's going to be great. I'm having just a lot of fun just playing through matches. I've been streaming it. I've been playing the showcase mode. I have, let's see, we can go right now. I have, at the time of recording, up to 8 posted in a row of the showcase. I have scheduled 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. So I'm almost done with Showcase. I think I have 5 or 6 more left.
Okay.
And I could get to that probably this weekend. I'm going to have the whole thing up on YouTube. So if you missed out, if you don't want to play it yourself, they're all there for you. And the best part, there's no WWE video archive cutscenes anymore. You could actually play through every single thing, which is really awesome. Now, George, you didn't get to the Showcase yet, right?
No, I have not yet.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you. There is a Money in the Bank match where you're Tamina and you have to win the match, which I was like, dude, who actually won this match? And it was the Ellsworth one.
Oh, okay.
Which is why they went in and changed it to Tamina, I guess. There is one section in there where there's a timed challenge where you have to hit Natty and fill like a health bar within, I think, 15 seconds.
Whoa.
And it's almost impossible. Soups was in the chat and he was saying like, oh, make sure you have weapons at the side of the ring, which was a great idea because that helped. But it took me 2 tries. The second time, I just waited until I had a signature because Tamina's specials are, I believe, from the top rope. So I had signatures waited. So I think I hit her with a kendo stick and then I hit one signature and it was good to go. But man, I love that they added the timed in there because I think last year's were way too easy.
It's always good when, especially when you're like us and you've played so many wrestling games, especially with the 2K series and that whole, Smackdown versus Raw line and everything that came before, to have a challenge. I always feel like anytime that you're like, oh, I might have to do this one more than once. I'm always so like excited. Like, I'm glad that this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and we also have to remind everybody that GMP 24 is still going. We are 2 weeks away from GMP Mania. Go check it out. Go catch up. It's going to live there on YouTube forever. Mm-hmm. GMP Mania is going to be ginormous, and we cannot wait to bring you that special event.
Oh, yeah. Well, John, with that, are you ready to put on those nostalgia goggles and go all the way back to 2009 and take a deep dive into SmackDown vs. Raw 2010?
Let's do it, baby.
Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com.
All right, as always, the deep dive is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. Make sure to use code GameMarks, GAMEMARKS, to save yourself 10% over at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. All right, John, and courtesy of Wrestling Collector Shop, we give away a figure. Last week, we were giving away a Ultimate Solo Sikoa. Who won that figure?
Beautiful figure. Now, he's cleaning up here. Steve Hoker with another review on the Apple platform. So thank you for that, Steve. We will get that out to you ASAP. Thanks to our friends over at the Wrestling Collector Shop. Go check them out, WrestlingCollectorShop.com. I've been placing some orders there. I got my big rubber guy, Jeff Hardy. I love this figure. And get yours too.
All right, before we get into SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, like we mentioned last episode, we want to remind everyone to go and check out our interview with Justin Leeper. He was the writer and director for the Road to WrestleMania and a lot of other little ins and outs of SmackDown vs. Raw 2010. So make sure to go check out that interview in the archive.
And I'm going to put it in the description of this episode too, so you guys can find it easy.
There you go. And here we go. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, released October 20th, 2009 on the Nintendo DS, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, the PSP, the Wii, the Xbox 360, and iOS. Developed by Ukes, and the Nintendo DS was developed by Toes. as I'm assuming is how you say that, TOSE, published by THQ, and other notable wrestling games in 2009. You've got WWE Legends of WrestleMania. Now, SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 is the 11th overall WWE wrestling video game and the 6th under the SmackDown vs. Raw series. It was also the 3rd and final game to feature the ECW brand before it was dissolved in February of 2010. Man, oh man, this was also, which I don't remember this, John. I don't know if you do. I don't remember this being on the iPhone.
I'm looking at it right now. It doesn't actually look half bad, but it's got that like weird cell shady awkward body typeness to it that like the TNA games had.
Yeah, it's got that mobile look.
Yeah, I'm also looking up the DS version, which was also kind of crazy, but also looked kind of cool.
I
like
remember
maybe a
the
little
PSP version
fun.
of this.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think I had the PSP version of this.
We've talked about that a lot in the past, the PSP versions of a lot of these SmackDown versus Raw and the WWE games in general.
Not bad. None of them were bad.
No, they're just different.
Some of them were bad. They're just different.
They're just different. It's not the main home console launch that you would expect.
It's literally on every console imaginable here except a PC. So if you needed a way to play it, I'm sure you were playing on a PS3, if not a PS2, or a 360. If not, then maybe the PSP and the DS version were just like your portables that you were taking to school or your parents' house, or
we did the playthrough today on the Wii version of the game, and it didn't look half bad either. I mean, I don't think we even said this in the playthrough. It's not going to compare to PlayStation 3, but it wasn't bad.
No, I think it was pretty damn good, if you ask me. We said it when we do like the history ofs and we're comparing games. Once you get to like, I don't know, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 or 7, there's not much that's going to improve until you hit the next gen consoles, and then that's kind of like the ceiling there. And even now, like they're definitely improved, but it's not that far off from back then.
No, it's not.
Which is
it's
kind of
really
crazy.
Not that bad.
But let's talk about the improvements from this game from its predecessor, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. You now have a custom story designer that allows you to create your own road to WrestleMania. And you can now expand on the creative finisher mode, which includes new aerial moves. Now, did you make ridiculous finishers also?
Oh, yeah. Like ones that had like insane sequences, and they would be like 14 steps long. And it was crazy.
And getting hit with those... This is why I stopped playing online, because every Goku-looking anime character you came across had ridiculous super kicks and a million-step finishing moves, and it was just stupid. I hated it. You can now customize the wrestler attire under Superstar Threads, and you could use a paint tool to create logos and such. Now, I was never good at it. I used to try. It was very hard. I used to try to do like the Islanders logo or something. And I think I ended up just putting like an NY over a circle. And you know why I remember that? Because of the story designer, where my guy, I think it was just my real name. It wasn't Johnny Clash yet. I don't think he existed for another like 3 years at this point. And I made like a brother of mine. I think his name was like Robbie. So it was like Johnny and Robbie, and we had the same last name or whatever. And we both wore Islander jerseys, but I made this entire year-long storyline where TNA invaded WWE. It was like AJ, Abyss, Beer Money, like Fortune, like all of them. And it turned out that Robbie was the leader of that, and we were the leaders of WWE and TNA going head-to-head. And somewhere mixed in there was like a love triangle with Mickey James also. But then I plugged my keyboard into the PlayStation. Like I was really going in, like, because you would write the text bubbles and everything. When I went to press play finally, after like the Mania blow off, game crashed.
Oh no.
Every single time I tried to play it, game crash. I think I had too many creator wrestlers in there, because I downloaded the entire TNA roster. Like, let's be real.
A little too much for the what were you on, PS3 you said?
PS3 probably at the time.
A little too much for the
360
PS3 to handle.
Could have been 360. I don't know. I had both. I had the 360 first, so I would assume it's that. It crashed and it sucked, and I never got to play it. But I did live through it by just creating it, so it was a lot of fun. Definitely a core memory in the gaming world for me.
That's awesome. I think this was actually one of the games. I'm trying to remember. There was one of the SmackDown vs. Raw games that like brought me back in to wrestling in general. Like like a lot of people kind of fall out for a couple of years, and then went over a friend's house. He had this, and I was just like,
you know what? That might be the same.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember if it's this or if it's 2009.
It could be this for me because I remember not watching for a long time, like at least a year. For me, that's a long time. And then for Christmas, I randomly got Best of Smackdown 2009. And it was nothing I would have ever watched before. Like, I was like, this is all just stupid. Like, who's Vance Archer? Like, who's Kurt Hawkins? I don't know. That's what this guy's doing now. And I sat there at work. I worked at an ice cream store at the time. And in the winter, you don't do shit. I used to bring a mini DVD player, and I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. I watched every single match on that DVD, and that's what pulled me back in. So there's a good chance that this game here is what pulled me back into wrestling also.
All right.
I very much remember it. But here you have the menu mode. You have your play options, of course. You have your My WWE. You have Road to WrestleMania, Story Designer, Career Mode, Create Modes, Xbox Live or PlayStation Live, whatever you're going under, Training Facility, and your options. But your match types under the play mode, you have Normal, Inferno, which were pretty lame for an Inferno match, First Blood, Falls Count Anywhere, Hell in a Cell, Iron Man, and you can go 10, 20, or 30 minutes. Ladder match, Last Man Standing, Steel Cage Submission, Tables, TLC, Backstage Brawl. Now there's some new areas that are unlockable in Road to WrestleMania, which are an interview, a locker room, a dirt sheet brawl, and the office stage brawl. So those are cool. Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, Handicap, Gauntlet, Royal Rumble, which is now also revamped, which you could do 10, 20, or 30, and women are allowed to do a Royal Rumble finally in these games. And there's 4 different types of eliminations and mini games with Rumble-specific finishers now. You have your Championship Scramble, which are 5, 10, or 20 minutes, and those were always never my favorite, because once you were out, you were just out.
Yeah, you were just done. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. But this game really did have absolutely everything.
I was to say, this was the era of wrestling games that had exactly what you said. There was something for everybody. There's so many different match types. And yeah, I think the thing that is the most memorable for me, I know we do it in almost every other playthrough that we do, Hell in a Cell, the ease of getting out of that cage.
Oh
God.
They should all be like that.
That cell door opens with a single button push.
24 and 25. They're coming close. I mean, he only takes 2 hits into that one wall for it to go away. So, oh man, if we could just go back to this, that would be great. Let's go right through that door. Well, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about Road to WrestleMania. All right, let's talk about these Road to WrestleMania game modes here. Thanks to our friend Justin Leeper, who was the writer and director for all of these. Now, the first one here, you have Brand Warfare. If you choose that, it is Triple H versus John Cena, where McMahon is looking to set up a cross-brand rivalry between Raw and SmackDown, putting the 2 champions against each other. You could actually play this one multiplayer with a friend, which is pretty cool, where one picks Triple H, one picks John Cena, and they look to take on the combined forces of Chris Jericho and MVP. So the roster was a little weak back then, but you got the Miz and Morrison also. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool game mode. I do actually remember it. Now, I thought this was the game where your created character was Jacob Cass, but that doesn't come for a while. This is, you actually can pick different voices for your wrestler.
Oh yeah, man, that just like sent me down
it was Austin Aries' voice.
Yeah, no, but just the name Jacob Cass, I was just like, wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I still remember that one. I think Husky Harris was in it. Create a Wrestler also has a Road to WrestleMania. This is where you choose your voices and you create your wrestler. And you kind of go under the tutelage of Santino and you win the Intercontinental title, you know, of course, it's always the triumphant, oh, Mr. McMahon's holding me back, and you eventually overcome the odds because that's how wrestling works. There's an Edge storyline when the SmackDown general manager position is opened up by Mr. McMahon. Edge manipulates things so that his girlfriend, Maria, is installed at the position, and with the GM in his pocket, the ultimate opportunist begins wreaking havoc in the ring, much to the... Get this. Guess who his opponent is here? Mr. Kennedy.
As the mic drops down from Clash's room.
Kennedy. Again, so we have The Miz and Morrison, Jericho and MVP, and Kennedy is the protagonist in these, the antagonist, sorry, in these Road to WrestleManias. Now let's get to Mickie James. This is the first Divas Road to WrestleMania in any of these games. Now she refuses to take part in a bikini contest, which we've actually seen in many WWE games before, believe it or not. Now she's threatened by Maurice, and they all slap each other, and, you know, it's one of those overcoming the typical stereotype of the diva at the time and actually proving that wrestling matters. Now there's a Randy Orton storyline where the Legend Killer forms an alliance with Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes and begins a feud with The Undertaker and Kane, and they battle it out in a Hell in a Cell. And that one's, I think, one of the most memorable for me, and it was a lot of fun. Then there's a Shawn Michaels one where he has an alliance with CM Punk, but JBL and Randy Orton kind of get in the middle of it. So really cool.
I remember the Orton one for sure. And I obviously remember the You're a Creator Wrestler one as well, because I feel like most people are
That's always the first one you do. I remember just running through these, though. Like, these were the bread and butter. These were what we wanted to do. They were pretty cool. This is what we need. Like, I'm coming around on these showcase modes the past 2 years. I wasn't looking forward to this year's at all, but it ended up it's actually kind of cool. I wouldn't mind something like this again, where you just take like 4 or 5 different wrestlers and give them shorter stories, and you can just go to the next one. All right. Do you want to read this roster here? We'll go back and forth here because this is a pretty big one, and it's very dated with the time.
Yeah, let's get through this here. I'll start us off here. You've got The Big Show, Carlito, Chavo Guerrero, Cody Rhodes, Evan Bourne, Festus, Jack Swagger, JBL, John Cena, Kofi Kingston, Mark Henry, The Miz, Mr. Kennedy, MVP, Primo, Randy Orton, Santino Marella, Shawn Michaels, Ted DiBiase, and Triple H, all representing the Raw brand.
Now, SmackDown, you have Batista, Brian Kendrick, Chris Jericho, CM Punk, Dolph Ziggler, Edge, Finland, Hornswoggle, who's a manager, The Great Khali, Jeff Hardy, Jesse, John Morrison. For a second, I was like, who the hell is Jesse? Now I remember. John Morrison, JTG, Kane, Matt Hardy, Mike Knox, R-Truth, Rey Mysterio, Shad, Umaga, and Undertaker.
In ECW, you have Christian, Ezekiel Jackson, Goldust, Shelton Benjamin, Tommy Dreamer, Vladimir Kozlov, and William Regal.
And the Legends, you have Bob Orton, Dusty Rhodes, Mr. McMahon, The Rock, Ted DiBiase Sr., and of course, you could unlock red and green by doing Road to WrestleMania mode. Go check out Phil Cardigan's social media. He's doing amazing things with red and green. It's incredible.
They even made an appearance in his Hall of Games acceptance speech.
It's crazy. He showed me that like a long time ago that he had the idea, and I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. He has been absolutely running with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been killing it. That's what he does. He has really good ideas and then executes them to a point that you're just like, this is
gotten
way
so much better at the execution too.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about these covers here.
Oh God. This is iconic covers in terms of SmackDown vs. Raw series.
It's iconic, but do you know what I love about it the most was this is like my style of design where I do like a lot of black and white background with like color front. So to see like Cena, Undertaker, Edge, Orton, and Mysterio on the front looking right at you with those amazing promo pictures, they're shadowy. They're beautiful. The big Smackdown versus Raw logo under them. But then in the background, you have a black and white arena and a crowd, which I think is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, featuring ECW down there with that little razor logo they had for a little bit, which is kind of crazy. The back cover, very heavy on creative superstars, which is interesting. You don't see that very often in these games where that's like the main advertisement, but that is mostly what people like to do, is create superstars.
And this was the it's not the beginning, but this is kind of setting the stage for where we are now with community creations. Like, you think of how big that community creation portion of the 2K games now is. This was just as big, if not bigger, back in the day. When this comes out in 2009, you would go on, and like John was saying before, you could go on and you could play online matches, and you would be playing these crazy juiced up characters that have like insane finishers. But you could also go on and download and look up you could do the typical lookup formulas, but then you could also download wrestlers as well.
Yeah. Like I said, I downloaded the whole TNA roster. But yeah, this is very creator wrestler heavy. You could design stories, finishers, the Road to WrestleMania mode. So that's cool that they really emphasize it, because that's my favorite part.
Yeah,
I know it's a lot of
absolutely.
others. Now the graphics here, we touched on it earlier, but they're pretty damn good. Depends what console you're playing on. Like the Wii is lacking, but it still is pretty damn good. The HUD across the board is a little weird. It's like a half circle that just follows underneath the wrestler with an S for a special or an F for a finisher. So you don't get all the other bells and whistles that you would normally get. But I think, again, that's just like a sign of the time, and we didn't need all that then. But I'm not mad at it being so minimal. It's just like you're looking around like, wait a minute, where do I look for this and that?
Yeah, it's not one of those things that is distracting. It's not like a oversized distracting HUD, but it's very different than what we're used to now. You know, we're very used to, and even for games that came generations before, it's that fixed style either on the top or the bottom, and you know, that's more or less what we have now, with some tweaks that are kind of paying homage to this with certain aspects of the game now, you know, in 2K25. But it's just different that everything is on that HUD that follows your wrestler around.
Yeah. It took a while to get used to, but once you're in there, it's not that bad. But this is again, it's that era where everything's a little blocky, I guess, when talking about like the text and all that.
Yeah.
Everything's very in your face when it doesn't have to be. But we get away from that, thank God. We're minimalists now in these games, and everything looks pretty. We might have thought it looked pretty at the time, but overall, I think this game is just beautiful. And at the time, it was one of the shining moments here.
Yeah.
Did you know? Did you know pre-ordering this game got you a code to download the one and only Stone Cold Steve Austin as DLC?
Did you know you can import most of the roster from this game over into WWE Legends of WrestleMania?
Did you know you can call Hornswoggle to assist you in a match by selecting him as your manager, and during the match holding R1 and press the D-pad, Hornswoggle will come out to assist you by tossing you a shillelagh, the signature weapon of Finland?
Did you know WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2010 is available on eBay from anywhere between $10 to $30 used, all the way up to $65 sealed?
Damn. Now we've talked about this excessively with Hornswoggle. He's talked about it on his show, how badly he wanted to be in these games. I'm glad they were able to at least give him this, and I know he's in some of the other story modes in other games.
Yep, there's a whole episode of Going Postal that is just Swoggle in video games, and that is also available wherever you listen to podcasts. So if you want to find out more about that, make sure to go listen to that episode.
And of course, we have a Legends of WrestleMania episode as well in our archives, where we detail how you get the superstars into there from this game as well. So pretty cool. Now the Stone Cold pre-order. Crazy that we're in a time where all you get is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's the entire pre-order. That's the whole DLC.
And it was an actual pre-order.
But I gotta say, one of the best looking Stone Cold models in any game.
Oh yeah. It's one, Stone Cold has a very signature look. And unless you are absolutely nailing that signature Stone Cold look, it is almost like you're going to notice if something's off, because he has such a like black trunks, vest, the bald head and the goatee. Like that is the quintessential look. You need the knee braces. Like he's got a very, very signature but simple style.
Yeah, there was just something about this one that just looked super cool. Now, I don't believe he was in SmackDown versus Raw 2009.
Is this the error of, or no?
This could be the era you're thinking of where he wasn't there anymore. But he is in 2008, but 2009, he's excluded from the game. So.
Okay.
But okay, let's move on here. Let's sit back. Some ratings and reviews. Metacritic gives the DS a 75 out of 100. The iOS gets a 42 out of 100. PS3 with an 81. Wii with a 78. And the Xbox 360 with an 80. Now let's go across the board here. Game Informer gives the PS3 and the 360 an 8.25 out of 10. Game Pro with a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Game Revolution with a B. GameSpot with a 7.5 out of 10. GameSpy with a 3.5 stars out of 5. Game Trailers gives the 360 an 8.3 and Game Zone with an 8.1. Now Giant Bomb goes back to the PS3 and the 360 with a 3 out of 5 stars. IGN here, they rate all of them. DS gets a 7.9. The iOS gets a 2.5. PS2 gets an 8. PS3 gets an 8.5. So does the 360. PSP gets a 7.2 and the Wii gets an 8. Official Nintendo Magazine gives the Wii version an 83%. Official Xbox Magazine gives a 7.5 out of 10. Touch Arcade gives a 3 out of 5 for the iOS. The AV Club gives a B+ for the 360. And last but not least, the Daily Telegraph with a 7 out of 10 for the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
That was a long list there, John.
So it's either on board with 7.5s and 8s, but then it could slump down to like a 7 or like a 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I was just saying, 7 for the most part is the lowest rating that any of them get, with the exception of the iOS version, which is not terrible.
No, not terrible at all. I actually want to see 2009. What did 2009 get? Because I feel like in this era, I say that a lot, but they're all on par here. Yeah, same thing. 7.5, 7.8.
I said we've talked about it before. This is like a very, if it's not broke, don't fix it era of wrestling video games. Like the SmackDown vs. Raw series, they had a good base and they just kept adding stuff to make each iteration of the game better.
I think, and we're on the right track now where every game's getting rated at least an 8. And I feel like an 8 now means more than an 8 then.
Yeah.
Because there could be so much wrong with a game now. Yeah. We're seeing all these games getting released and getting shelved immediately, or they're losing support, or people are going nuts. Like Cyberpunk, we'll always bring that one up, even though the game's thriving now. But, man, I don't know. I still want to know what a wrestling game has to do to warrant a 9 at IGN. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think it's such a... I mean, we've talked about it in the context of this podcast. We are a niche of a niche. There's people who play video games. Then there's people who play wrestling video games. And, like, that's the niche for this podcast. So if someone from IGN obviously likes to review... or it doesn't even have to be specifically IGN. It could be from any publication. Obviously, they play video games, they review video games, but they may not necessarily be huge wrestling fans that, appreciate every little detail of, like,
Well, I think they tend to give them to more
Yeah, people that are
wrestling.
familiar with it,
Yeah.
but maybe it wasn't always that way.
Yeah, maybe. But now it's time for the most important rating of them all. It's time for our rating, because right now it's time to rate the game.
The game!
All right, Johnny Clash, WWE.
Play it forever.
Yeah. We're gonna save the long windows. It's a play it forever from both of us. The game is great. It doesn't matter what year you're playing this in. It ages very, very nicely. Visually, it's great. Like we said, we played the Wii version. It's pretty good. Wasn't bad. I think it's on par with that 7 out of 10, that 70 out of 100. Like, it's not the most mind-blowing visually on the Wii, but it still is good. But it is damn good on the 360 and on the PlayStation 3 for sure. Pyros, textures, the
Cena gets a pyro.
Cena gets a pyro, which threw us off in that playthrough. Make sure to go check that out over at youtube.com/GameMarksPod. But yeah, visually, this game is great. It is a lovely little time capsule of what wrestling was like in 2009. And yeah, double play it forever, John.
Double piff, baby. Double piff.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was just, it's a timestamp. We said this is what brought us back into wrestling this whole time period. And I can't not think of this game when I'm thinking back to like what my favorite WWE games are. So,
oh yeah, this may be a conversation that we do in the next couple of weeks, because I know another game that's coming down the line soon, but we may have to talk about what our favorite SmackDown vs. Raw is when we wrap up the whole SVR series. But with that, Johnny, you ready to get into this week's soft lock question? All right, the soft lock is the second on the podcast where one of our Mega Marks gives us a topic to debate, a question to answer. It's a question of the week with a fancy name. This week it comes from Germ. Germ's question is, Acclaim makes a new Legends of Wrestling game. What can they do to differentiate it from the 2K series? What control scheme can be used, and who can realistically make the cover to attract people to purchase the game?
oh, damn.
Man, well,
I feel like it's easier now than it was back then.
And there's a lot more that you can play with nowadays.
Like, just look at Pro Wrestling Tees, who's available. There are so many not signed by WWE that have T-shirts or don't have deals that you could put in Legends of Wrestling. I mean, Mick Foley comes to mind. Maybe just Mick Foley. I don't think you could do the three faces, but he's there. I mean, Sting, Ric Flair, Macho Man. Yeah, there's so many.
There's so many.
But then I think you could also have maybe like smaller wrestlers like Team 3D and all that. Not smaller, meaning in size, smaller meaning like not like the Ric Flairs and the Hogans and all that.
Yeah, this is we could spend a lot of time on this question. There's a lot that could be covered here. I would say
what could differentiate it from 2K?
Yeah, that's going to be the thing.
Do what the AEW did.
maybe it's, I'm trying to think of, like, maybe it's a little more like All-Stars-esque.
Maybe. Then you're kind of still going back to Legends of Wrestling for that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because if it's going to be super realistic, it's going to end up being just like the 2K series.
Yeah, that's the thing. It needs that one thing to like kind of set it apart. Oh. I think they do have to stick with a more arcadey style, but maybe keep the graphics nice.
What roster-wise you'd say you do WWF, WWE, WCW? What if they did like early TNA? They got NWA. Like they start pulling people from early days of everything.
That would be amazing. Like give us like Low Key and Samoa Joe from back then.
Like Christopher Daniels, Kazarian.
The only thing that sucks is when, say, like the Stings in Showdown. You can't have like the Wolfpack logo or any of that stuff. I hate when there's like rip-offs of stuff that's licensed.
It's like, here's a red dog on Sting's jacket. And you're like,
here's Hollywood Hogan with just lightning bolts and a fake Hogan shirt.
Yeah, there is that challenge. I'm surprised. I thought when I said TNA, you were going to get real jazzed up about that. Like, and like just start naming names.
But who's there that isn't signed somewhere right now?
Well, I feel like there's...
Like, take AEW out of this. Take TNA even out of this.
Yeah. No,
it needs to be like strictly legends. You're going to have like the Ricky Steamboats and the Hacksaws and all that, maybe.
Yeah, you're not. So you're not going to get like Abyss or.
Dude, it does have to be, I think, like a little bit of an arcadey game to separate itself, which always ends up being a detriment to it.
Yeah, unless they like super lean into it, and you get it's a Legends of Wrestling game, but it plays like WrestleMania the arcade game.
Ooh. See, there's just not... I would love that. I think the fan base now, there's just not enough...
I don't think that would be successful at all, but it is very different from everything that we've got now. But I don't know if it's necessarily...
Give us more. We want it.
Better for the right reasons. I don't know if it's going to be successful different.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a cool question, though.
It's a very good question.
And
thank you very much.
It's also something that may be happening soon, so I guess we'll know shortly.
You never know.
Something tells me Jeff Jarrett might be in it.
All right, Germ, thank you very much for that question. And guys, you can let us know what you think Acclaim could do to make a new Legends of Wrestling style game. Let us know on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. John, would you like to let the people know what we're playing next week?
We are playing WWE 2K18. This is the one with Seth Rollins on the cover. Not too far off here. This is a good one. This is going to be a lot of fun.
This is the infamous loot box game.
Oh. Can't wait.
Oh, God. All right. As always, guys, you can find all our video content, including our playthrough videos, GMP24, which we talked about earlier, and a whole lot more over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/GameMarksPod. If you want to pick up some merchandise from this show or Going Postal, that is available over at podexchange.shop, PODXCHANGE. We also have a Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. And like we mentioned earlier, at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. That is at GameMarkspod. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. But that is the whole episode. John, whenever you're ready, sir, do that thing.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.